Hi, I'm Marii. This is Moments with Marii, a space for healing, soft living, and showing up whole. I'm glad that you're here. For many of us women, we lose ourselves in our roles, and we lose ourselves in these roles at different stages of our lives. Sometimes, even before being a wife and a mother, we sometimes even lose ourselves just being children who are dutiful to parents, right? We get a little bit older, we get married, and then we lose ourselves in the role of being a wife. We have children and we lose ourselves in the role of motherhood. We start to run businesses or we work and we lose ourselves in the roles of serving people in our places of employment. But it's really important to try to take the steps that you need and be intentional about reclaiming the parts of you that you lost, because at the end of the day, when the world is quiet and you sit with yourself, who are you? At the end of the day, who are you to your core? How can you define yourself? How can you identify yourself? If someone came up to you and was prepared to get an introduction, you only left with your roles as a list of things that you would tell off in this introduction. I think back to when I gave birth to my first child. I was already so overwhelmed with just this role of being a wife and what that means and what that entails and what am I supposed to do? What is the right way to do this? And now I have this little being who's fresh in the world, and I got to figure out how to serve her, serve my daughter. And all the while, it took a lot of my marriage to also realize that I didn't only like lose myself in these roles, but I never really had a firm sense of identity, because my entire life, a lot of my relationships, a lot of my way of life, the way I was scheduling my days was really solely based off service and really based off of being of duty to people. And yes, I did have like hobbies. I did have friends that I hung out with, but I was so deep in my roles that I forgot what they were. Like if you ask me today, what are some things that you used to enjoy, I can tell you now, but it took like deep reflection because I genuinely reached a point where I forgot. Like I forgot what it was I used to do when I came home from school and I did all my homework and I'm just sitting by myself in my room. Like what did I used to do? That time was so blurry for me because when you're young, when you're child of immigrants, you have to like assume responsibilities pretty early, grow up early. But here we are, decades later, and I'm married, I have kids, and I have a business, and I'm actually in a place of reclaiming the parts of me that I lost, reclaiming the parts that make me muddy outside of being so and so's wife and the mother of so and so and the daughter of so and the sister of so and so. Like outside of all that, and the owner of such and such business and this and that. Like outside of all that, who am I? So I wanted to chat a little bit today about some of the steps that I'm taking to reclaim who I am, to rediscover who I am, and even reinvent who I am. One of the first things that I feel has been crucial into reclaiming who I am is making myself a priority again. I talk I talk about this in quite a few episodes where I had to look at my list of priorities and my list of responsibilities, and I was nowhere on my list at a point. And obviously was like, this is a problem, right? So I went from telling myself that I have to add myself to the list to making sure that I'm always first on my list before everybody, except for God, but before everybody, because I feel like once you put yourself on the list and you put yourself as number one, it's easy for you to create times of being with yourself. You know, when you need to break away from the kids for just even if it's 10 minutes, or if I just need a break from the house for just an hour, now I'm able to create time to be by myself. And in that time, I can quite frankly do whatever serves me. Is it going to be a time of reflection? Is it going to be a time of serving myself? Is it going to be a time of pouring into myself? That is all left to my discretion. But being able to prioritize myself, put myself first, no matter how much time is required, it's just giving me the space to reclaim me, because now I'm not thinking about feeding the baby, taking my daughter to her program, or doing this for so and so. I'm not thinking about those things. Now I'm thinking about just me. So being able to make yourself a priority is really underrated, because people would just say, like, just prioritize yourself, as this is something easy to do. But if it is something that you're able to successfully accomplish, there's so much that you can do in such a little amount of time that pours so much into you, that once you get back to assuming the roles that you have to fulfill, it becomes more easy, and it becomes light. It's not as heavy as it usually feels. After you're able to prioritize yourself, I think we're going to talk about this like every other episode, but you need to set boundaries. They don't have to be harsh boundaries, they can be gentle boundaries, but you need to set boundaries for yourself, for people to not cross into your bubble, because some people are just so used to you being there, being available. They're so used to identifying you with a role that they do not even they don't even care to realize that you need a break, you need rest, you may not feel like it, you may be tired. Like, people, there's genuinely people, I didn't think this existed until I faced people like this. There's people who genuinely do not care about what you got going on, what you feeling, how you doing. They just care about you being of service to them. So you need to be able to set these boundaries, because you are also someone who has gotten them used to that you've gotten them used to the fact that you will always drop everything for them. So you need to be able to set boundaries, be them gentle, be them harsh, but you need to be able to carry this energy in you that will teach the people around you how to treat you. And if they don't learn in the gentle ways that you set boundaries, by maybe not making yourself available, not being too quick to answer a text message if you don't have confidence in the answer you're going to give at that moment, when you decide you're not going to stretch yourself too thin, you have to teach people that. And if they don't get that, you might have to have a conversation. But nonetheless, boundary setting is so crucial, especially if you're a people pleaser, someone who is always ready and willing to do any and everything for anybody. Boundary setting is really, really crucial, because it's going to help you to be able to prioritize yourself, to create that space and that time that you need to reclaim yourself. And though this next thing might be hard for a lot of people, like I said, I was so deep in service that I genuinely did not remember the things that I used to enjoy as a child, as a teenager, even in college. Like, I didn't remember the things that used to fill my cup. But you really have to sit and reflect. What are some things that brought you joy? Did you like to draw? Did you write poetry? Did you write stories? Did you like to dance? Did you like to sing? Did you play chess? Did you play cards? Did you crochet? Like, there's so many things that you may have done, and you probably only did it a couple times, but it did something for you. It brought you a sense of joy. It helped you disconnect or reconnect with yourself. And I think it's important to kind of sit with yourself and try to remember some of those things. And sometimes thinking about it may not work, but if you think of a list of hobbies, you can even Google like list of hobbies. And if you try to do a few of them, it might unlock some of your childhood memories. And I tried this last year. There was a day I was just like sitting at home, and I noticed my daughter loves to draw. And to be honest, seeing your kids can really like unlock childhood memories too. Because I remember enjoying to draw as a kid too. I was really artsy as a kid, but I really didn't take it too serious. So I literally like went to the store and got myself a sketch pad, and I got myself pencils, color pencils and stuff. And I started to sketch. Then that all happened in a matter of 2 hours. Because one thing about me, I'll think about doing something, and if I have enough energy in me, I'll throw the kids in the car and run to Walmart and grab some supplies and do what I need to do. But I was coloring my sketch, and while I was doing that, I started to like literally visualize my younger self. I used to draw a lot of flowers for some reason. I used to write poetry. I used to write short stories. I actually forgot how artistic I was, because at that time in my brain, like being artistic was kind of like a waste of time, right? And things come full circle now that I'm like creating content, and I've been creating content for 5 years. But if you ask me like 10, 15 years ago, I would have never seen myself as a content creator, because that artistic side of me was pushed down for so long for so many reasons. But sometimes in trying to remember those small things, you kind of have to like put yourself in a position for those things to unlock, for you to remember. So try to, even if you can't actually do it, watch a video of somebody doing something. Like watch a video of like people dancing, or try to think of even shows that you used to enjoy, because you might be watching like an old show that you used to enjoy, and then you think about the things that you did before you watched the show, after you watched the show. Just try to reconnect with your childhood and who you were before life really kicked you in. Like before you had to assume so much responsibility, the time in your life that you were so free and didn't have to think about anything too serious. And I think not only is this important in reclaiming who you are, but I think it's also good to have a little childliness in you. I don't know if that's a word, but I feel like having a little youth to you is really important. I was somebody who was always very serious. I always followed the rules. I always went by the book. Like I didn't disrespect nobody. I didn't play too much. I wasn't too goofy. I was very like, I got to do what I got to do. And I've been like that since I was very, very young. And I notice now, like having kids, being a little goofy with my kids, even when I'm creating content, I have a lot of ideas that are more light and more like fun. I do still stop myself sometimes, because I do have a little bit of that seriousness in me, but just being able to imagine, just being able to think like, oh, I could create that. I could try to create this. Like hopefully down the line, not too long, I might actually tap in. I tap into some stuff, but I'm still like tiptoeing, because I'm still on this healing journey. I'm trying to get it together. But in reclaiming who you are and getting back to who you are as an individual, sometimes you got to have that youthfulness, and trying to think back to the things you used to enjoy when you were a kid, when you were a teenager, when you were a preteen, things you used to do with your friends. I think that's also really helpful, to try to like help you like feel a little bit more comfortable in your skin, a little bit more safe in your softness. This is going to sound a little contradictory, but I do think that the final thing that is really, really important in reclaiming who you are and who you were to your core is grieving some of the old parts of you, grieving the old version of yourself. And I did an episode about outgrowing the older version of yourself. And it sounds counterproductive from the point that I made previously about reconnecting with your childhood and reconnecting with who you are, but it's all going to connect. So when I say you need to grieve that old version of yourself, that's in a couple parts. First, there's a version of you that no longer serves you today. That people pleaser, the person who always felt guilty, the old person who never felt like it was okay to rest, the person who never took themselves seriously, gaslight yourself. Like that's the version of you that you need to grieve. And the biggest reason why you have to grieve that person is because that person is holding you back from being a newer and more improved and healed and confident and just more enlightened and informed version of yourself. It holds you back. That person that you were in the past, that part of you, you got to leave her back there. and you have to grieve it. Like, you have to grieve it like a loss, because it is a loss. Because if you've lived your entire life believing that, for instance, there's a video that went viral on TikTok, and it was about a Muslim woman, who I believe she's a child of immigrants. And she was talking about how her relationship with her parents have been very dutiful. It's about duty. And if she was having a bad day, like, her parents would not be the first person to call. And I that hit me, because it makes sense that I grew up in an area and in a community and in a culture that a lot of the relationships are expected to be dutiful or transactional. It's like, even if you ask somebody what makes somebody a good person, is usually transaction. It's like, they did that for me, they did this for me. It's not because she's friendly, because she's kind, because she's funny, because she's loyal. Like, those things might be mixed in there, but it's explained on a path of transaction and a path of duty. And then when we look at, like, child to parent relationships and elder to youth relationships, even older sibling to younger sibling relationships, a lot of that is of duty, of transaction. But now you're in a place where you don't want your worth to be measured by transaction, by what I give, by what I do. Or you don't want the description of who you are to only be in the name of the roles that you have. You want it to be because you're who you are, because I'm muddy, so I do this because I'm muddy. I'm friendly, I'm joyful, I draw, I create content, I create art. You want those things to be because of who you are. But if you've lived so long in a transactional or dutiful type of relationship, you can't step into who you are, because that's who you automatically want to be, right? So I feel like the one part of outgrowing yourself is just outgrowing those survival tactics and, like, being in survival mode. Like, you don't need that no more, but you have to grieve that version. You have to accept in your heart that that life and who I was just doesn't serve me. On the opposite side, which I think this is a little bit harder to do, is you have to outgrow who that person thought you would be today, right? So if we think about, like, marriage, for example, I'm African, so I always feel like they raise girls to be wives. Like, that's just that. Not like every single person deals with that, but that's like the holistic thing with having daughters. It's like, okay, I got to teach her how to cook. I have to teach her how to clean. I have to teach her how to respect elders so that she could be good with her in-laws. And I have to teach her all these things because when she gets married, right? And then I really, like, grew up, like, with all these sayings about marriage. Like, I used to be doing homework and my mom would be like, so I guess you're gonna feed your husband your textbooks because you're always doing homework, you don't want to learn how to cook, whatever. So then I get older and I get married and I'm stressed because I'm like, how do I be a good wife? Like, I not only do I love this man, obviously, but I actually like him, so I want to be a good wife to him. So, like, what do? I was so stressed, so overwhelmed. And I talk a little bit about this, about how my marriage really, like, helped me in my healing journey. And then as I went on, I feel like me trying to, like, fulfill this role and follow the rules was actually straining us a little bit, because I wasn't free. Like, I remember him telling me one day, just be free, just be yourself, like, chill out. And I was like, I don't know how to, like, I'm not supposed to. I went through this period of, like, I had to grieve who I thought a good wife is supposed to be. And then I have kids and I want to be super mom. I want to put them in all types of stuff. But then life hit me. I don't have the energy. I don't have the strength. I don't have all the time to be super mom as much as I used to think super mom was. I had to grieve the fact that my idea of supermom was totally unrealistic and I'm a supermom in my own way. I remember, like, feeling like, okay, you're supposed to be able to maintain a household and work and be like the best employee and still run a business and still take care of these kids and still, like, to everything to the maximum level. Like, that's how my brain was wired. But unfortunately, my body isn't wired for what my brain was trying to prepare me for, because I have had like health issues. I've had a lot of traumatic things happen to me. I've had loss that slowed me down. I had a lot of also good things that thank God I didn't even have to maybe take certain routes that I thought that I would have to take. Like life just did God just did what he needed to do in the name of man plans but God decides, right? So I had to reach a point, and this was, I want to say, around 2020, when my dad passed away. And I was like, oh, I gotta go visit my dad. I had not seen him in 6 years, and I was so caught up in trying to get my home life structured and my work life structured. And yeah, once I be at this job for this amount of time, I'm gonna go see my dad, and then blah blah blah. And then he ended up passing, and that was when I was like, whoa, because life is not promised. And because I was so hell bent on getting everything in order in my perfect 5 year, 10 year plan, I didn't even see my dad before he passed. I didn't spend times doing certain things. Like it really helped me slow down and realize that I have to grieve that life plan that I had, that 5 year, 10 year plan, who I thought I was gonna be by 30 and blah blah blah. I have to grieve. I have to grieve her. I have to grieve that version too. And it helps when you accept it, that like, listen, I thought life was gonna be this way. It is like unfortunate that it didn't end up this way, but the acceptance comes with thank God that I am where I am and I have what I have. I have a beautiful family, we're in a beautiful home, and we're doing the things that we need to do to become successful. And I'm living out my passions by talking to people just like me who are healing and trying to better themselves. Like, being gracious and having gratitude in those moments. You have to grieve that old plan that you have for yourself, that old version of yourself. So I feel like being able to intertwine those two ideas of outgrowing your old self, the person who carried this toolkit of survival skills that you no longer need, as well as the person who carried that 5 year, 10 year plan in a portfolio, you have to grieve that person and start with a clean slate. Start as a person who is now learning to prioritize herself, someone who is learning to set boundaries, even if they're just gentle ones, someone who's learning to reconnect with her inner child, remember the things that she used to enjoy, even develop and discover some new hobbies for yourself. Creating pockets of time in your busy schedule, no matter how much time, no matter if it's 10 minutes, 20 minutes a day, if it's 1 hour a week, if it's one day a month, just being able to take certain pockets of time to pour into you and rediscover, or even discover for the first time, what makes me me, outside of all of the things that I have to do for everybody else and all the ways that I need to be of service. Who am I to my core? What makes me who I am? What makes me glow? What makes me feel good? But if you're able to follow these steps, I think it'll start to unlock something in you. And as long as you take it day by day, take it day by day. Small acts is what really brings the big impact at the end. Take it day by day, and you're going to be unrecognizable in 6 months, in 1 year. You're really going to start to flourish in this new version of yourself. You're really going to start to feel confident in who you are as an individual. And I think that is really when you feel like you're on the other side of healing, when you start to become instead of coping, when instead of trying to label, figure out what's wrong with you, you just start to be. You just start to be who you're meant to be. Thank you so much for spending a moment with me today. If this message resonated with you, make sure you share it with someone you love, and make sure that you follow on all platforms to stay up to date with Moments with Marii. Until next time, be gentle with yourself.